This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Oh my God!
Welcome, everybody, to the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. This is episode 69. 69 is always a good time. Jam-packed show. Jam-packed. We've got a ton of news and notes on AEW. We've got a new IWGP Heavyweight Champion in New Japan. Some stuff going on with WWE we're going to discuss. Of course, we've got our predictions for the Elimination Chamber, and we're going to review Raw and SmackDown. Before we get to all of that, though, I'd like to take this moment to, she probably isn't listening, but if she does happen to listen, I want to wish my wife a happy anniversary. It is 6 years to the day of our very first wedding. We got married twice. Funny situation. This was the boring wedding, so happy 6 years to the boring wedding. The second wedding was great, though. The second wedding was a party. John was there for that one. And speaking of John, he is the one, he is the only, he is the Doc John Macaroon. What's going on, cuz?
You are innocence personified.
The great Chris Jericho's theme, baby. I like it.
I was going to say, I like when you come in with songs, we should have guess whose theme this is. That was good, man. Chris Jericho's the man. I got some news in the news notes about Chris Jericho.
Man,
so we're
the
gonna
debate
discuss.
that Putty and Mikey from the Breaking Down the Ring had for the last 5 days was unbelievable. Putty just nondescriptly said, man, I'm excited for AEW. He threw it out there, and then Mikey from Breaking Down the Ring said, dude, there's a lot of things you can be critical of. And then it just sparked a 4-day war of people back and forth going, it's going to be great. No, it's not going to be great. Chris Jericho is a jobber. Chris Jericho's a part-timer. And man, thank you guys, because
And Jericho got involved.
Jericho was like, I'm not a VP. Look, not everybody's going to be a VP and things like that. And he tagged us in it. And thank you guys. I appreciate it. Anytime we can get in the mix there, where we're right there in the mix of a great debate.
I tried explaining all of that to my mom. She's just looking at me like I'm crazy. And I was like, you don't understand. Like, this is awesome.
Exactly. When we don't start the debate and we get tagged in, it's great for us.
Just the
free
conversation.
marketing.
Just the conversation is awesome.
Yeah, free marketing is amazing. We'll take advantage of that every single time. Thank you, fellas. Mikey and the Breaking Down the Ring crew. I loved it. He went down to Sterling Heights and he checked out Scotty Steiner, man. Great stuff at the Astronomicon. I love that photo, dude. That's cool. I wish every year I say, it's right there. It's literally 5 minutes from the studio. But the photos, man, are expensive. $50 or more.
Yeah.
You know,
Shawn Michaels is going to be at Motor City Comic Con.
We're definitely going to be there. I don't care if we're setting up a table. I don't care what I'm doing. I might dress in the outfit. I might find a way to dress in the white outfit and show up there marking out.
With the leather chaps.
Yeah, exactly. Find my own sensational Sherry.
That would be great. Can you get Andrea to dress like that? That would be
dark
awesome.
hair. That'd be great, right?
No, just have her rock the red hair.
And you
It'll
guys
be great.
take the video of when he sees me. He's like, oh, hell no.
That would be awesome.
Look, we got a jam-packed episode. We're going to do a preview of the Elimination Chamber. We're going to talk about Raw, SmackDown. But for the discussion of the two shows, we can't highlight every single thing. Time restrictions will prevent that. I do want to discuss, though, how disappointing Raw was. Not because they weren't trying to promote Elimination Chamber, but they basically ruined what I thought was a great build-up for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And so we have to start there. By introducing Charlotte with Vince McMahon, all it kept telling me was stale, old. This is so similar to back in the day with Stone Cold, where you don't need to set up, Becky Lynch by having the McMahons be their foil. She's already over.
She's so over.
Take it to the next level. All you did was, and I get it. Look, for those that don't understand why they're doing it, I'll quickly explain it. The reason why they're trying to screw over Becky Lynch week in and week out is Becky Lynch is going to win at WrestleMania, and it's going to allow that feeling when, that she's had to overcome this and that and that. I get it. But guess what, guys? They've done it before with Stone Cold Steve Austin. This is what they do in order to get guys over. Remember Daniel Bryan just 4 years ago? at WrestleMania because of the fact he had to fight the Authority. It's just stale. I mean, I'm not going to pop as hard as I would have had it just been Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey fighting, and Becky goes over. That's all you needed. Have the fight. You didn't need all this extra. And the way they played it out was Vince McMahon comes out after another thing that was totally messed up is you totally took a little bit of heat away from Becky Lynch by having her apologize.
Made no sense.
It was stupid to do it that way. Stupid writing, and it just made me go, you know what? Alexa Bliss was right when she walked up to Becky Lynch and said, if you apologize, you're going to look soft and weak. And this is what you're trying to do to Becky Lynch, someone that's over. I just feel like you could have continued to ride her push in a different way. But this is what they've chosen to do. I just don't agree with it on any level. I felt like when that happened, I just was like, oh, they killed the entire setup for me. I'm not excited anymore because now you know, in the next couple of weeks, somehow or another, Becky Lynch is going to have to earn her way back into the match. It's going to be a 3-way, and it just killed it.
Yeah, I thought the way it was put together was poor. This was the overarching storyline on Raw the entire night, and she has so much heat, and everybody loves her so much that there's no need for any of this. So Triple H and Stephanie want their apology from her after she's cleared medically to come back and compete. And seeing her internal debate in the back was good. That, I think, was solid as far as the storyline goes. Seeing her trying to wrestle with, do I apologize to hold on to my WrestleMania spot and face Ronda Rousey? Or do I just say, screw it, and everybody can go to hell because I'm the man? And in the end, like you said, poor writing, poor booking. The way this whole thing was put together was absolutely piss poor.
You open the show with another long promo, and Stephanie botches it. She can't even say pay-per-view, right?
She's Stephanie McMahon, dude. Like, what do you want? I'm over her.
Don't open the show with a promo. It's not needed. You could have had the tag team match start Raw. You could have the Revival. That would have popped.
That would have been super hot. That'd been super hot. We're going to talk about Revival here in a minute.
That was the best part of the show, was the Revival.
Raw champions.
Good for them, right?
No, exactly. But you then have her apologize, and you're right. It weakens the character, because the one thing about the man was, I do what I want, I do it how I want, and I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do, and then good luck trying to stop me. So now you make her apologize. So now you've just knocked her down a peg, right? I mean, she's ascending. She's already out of this world. She's into the atmosphere. She is on the moon at this point, right? And you just knocked her down a peg. Why? So you can then turn around and suspend her to then put Charlotte in the match? And nobody wants to see a 3-way. Let's be honest. Nobody wants to see Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch. So when Becky Lynch does get back into this match, nobody really wants to see that. I don't want to see Charlotte Flair intertwined in this. This was supposed to be Becky's moment.
And then you have Becky win by pinning Charlotte. That's what's going to happen. They're not going to ruin Ronda,
which then sucks because
you know how to do it. How you know what they're thinking already.
Absolutely.
That's what will happen.
And if like everybody's got a Twitter, right? And if you follow what's going on Twitter, Becky slays everybody.
Yeah,
everybody. Like, she crushes Ronda on Twitter probably 6 times a day. Okay, and then she crushes Charlotte probably 4 times a day. And like, when I say crush, I mean like there's no rebuttal. They try, but they have no response.
And if there's a chance Ronda wins, she'll just pin Charlotte. Charlotte's the one getting pinned. It's pretty much obvious.
Are you sure about that? Because honestly, what it feels like Vince loves Charlotte. Charlotte is
another moment for her.
Yeah,
come on, man.
Charlotte's his queen bee.
That'd be the worst option.
It would be. It'd be horrible. You don't need to see that. Nobody wants to see that again.
Yeah,
absolutely brutal. Look, I like Charlotte. I think Charlotte does a good job, but Charlotte. You almost feel like Charlotte is the Roman Reigns of the women's division. She steals everybody's spotlight, and she gets crammed down everybody's throat.
But before we talk about other aspects of Raw that we liked in our highlights, are we being too critical? Does WWE in their formula realize that, look, this is how we got Daniel Bryan over and elevated him even more to the heights that he got with that Yes Movement by being the foil, the authority? Because it's obviously tried and true. They're doing it because it has worked, and it likely will work again for most of the fans. Now, the marks obviously are not going to like it, but in terms of fans, I kind of am thinking that, you know what, this will work, because if Becky gets over and she goes in and week out, has to overcome the authority and has to overcome the man, Vince McMahon, maybe he comes out there at the end of WrestleMania, she pimp slaps him and then defeats Charlotte to win the title. I think that you have your formula. It's just not original, but I think for the common fan, it might do the job to get her even over more.
If we could get a Shawn Michaels Bret Hart moment where
Screw job action?
not necessarily a screw job because Becky's got to win. Becky has to win, right? But you remember how Bret melted down? Do you remember how he spit on Vince McMahon? And I don't ever like seeing people spit on anybody, but you need something like that where she goes after Vince. She goes after Vince, and it has to be real. There has to be this emotional, provoking moment because
You know what? There is one way for me to turn this around, and I'll share it with you.
that set up everything going forward for all of WWE, and I still think they're riding the coattails of that.
Here's how you do it. Ronda Rousey would play as a great heel. And if you want to further...
Nobody understands why she's a face right now.
Exactly. So here's what you do. She aligns herself with the McMahons. She shows her love. You know what? She realizes, look, you know what? Maybe the 4 horsewomen are ganging up on me, and you guys are trying to do this. I'll join up with Steph, Triple H, and Vince McMahon. Then you could carry on the storyline maybe even further if she stays into SummerSlam, where Ronda wins by a screwjob action, by turning heel, by having Vince interject Triple H and have him screw up that entire match where Becky's about to win, everybody's happy, something happens, a screw job action maybe, or something happens where the Authority helps Ronda win, she turns heel. Now you have Becky as the face, you have Ronda as a heel. SummerSlam can be bumping. Turn Ronda heel at Mania.
I like that.
Turn Ronda heel at Mania is the only way to save it.
I think that would work, but
I'd buy that.
Becky would then, you'd have to have a long story arc. And
Yes.
Becky would have to win at SummerSlam.
Yes.
And
that's when you pay it off.
Yes, there would have to be that heat. But
It doesn't have to end. Remember, the storyline doesn't have to end at Mania.
No, you're right. It doesn't. The thing is, Vince just came out, 2 months ago, 3 months ago? Oh, it's going to be a new day. It's a new era for WWE. The McMahons are no longer the Authority. Well, all we've had is Authority McMahon since they've been back. It's absolutely horrible. Do you think, I want to put this out there, I want to interject this into this conversation about Becky Lynch. Do you think she is actually dealing with a legitimate knee injury and this suspension and this entire thing is a way to buy her some time off? So if she is healthy enough to compete at WrestleMania, it could be one of those go-home show type events where somehow she gets her way back into that match. Or if she's not healthy enough, it's a way for them to cover, oh, well, she was suspended till after WrestleMania. She can have her shot after WrestleMania then. Do you think that there is legitimately a knee injury that she's dealing with or she is working through some type of injury?
Yes, but minor. I think not enough to keep her off of television, just enough that she can't wrestle a full schedule.
Okay. I thought that too. When this all went down, I was like, okay, so there is some truth to that knee injury and it is a real deal. It's bothering her, so she needs some time away.
The only other aspect of Raw I liked was the Revival winning the title. The rest of it I thought was subpar.
Well, you know what?
And a lot of bad angles.
It was a ton of bad angles. The Revival end up beating Bobby Roode and Chad Gable. Good match. They end up hitting a shatter machine after a lot of back and forth. I thought this was good. I thought this was the right call, but I also think this has to do with the Revival wanting to go away. Yeah. The Revival have requested their release multiple times.
Smart.
Yeah, for them. They don't necessarily want to be there anymore because they feel underutilized. The only problem I have with this and with them winning, and again, I said it's a good thing that they won and they should have won. How many times did it take them to finally win?
A lot.
How many chances have you had at winning the tag belts? Honestly, in the last month, and mind you, you only get 4 Raws a month generally. It felt like 6 or 7 times they've had a shot to win these titles, and now they get it. So it almost feels like a little too late. Like you knocked so much steam off these guys. Now you're just slapping them on there because they asked for the release.
The worst moment was the entire situation with Dean Ambrose and EC3.
See, no. Okay, the match itself, I get. Okay, the match itself, I get. But before that, Dean Ambrose going off script, I think was awesome.
Really?
Because
you just spent months pumping him up that he was feuding with Rollins. Just that quick, it's done?
Well, I think what you have here is you have one friend looking at another friend saying, go get it. Go do this because you're still my boy in real life. And I think it was a little bit of a curtain lift. And I'm sure it's going to get him in some hot water with Vince, but I thought it was awesome. So if you don't know, Dean Ambrose ends up interrupting a Seth Rollins promo where Seth was explaining how he's dealing with a back injury after taking all those F5s. In the segment, according to Dave Meltzer, Dean Ambrose goes totally off script, and he says, I've got one thing to say to you, and that's slay the beast. And that was Ambrose to Rollins. Now, according to Meltzer, it was supposed to be a whole lot more. There were supposed to be more lines. It was supposed to include the Shield, supposed to include Roman Reigns. And then it was supposed to lead up to him finishing saying slay the beast. So I thought this was cool because I thought he took a lot out of it, but he lifted the curtain so you could actually see like, hey, even though all this is going on, you're still my boy. And I thought that was cool. Now, Dean Ambrose beating EC3 on a roll-up after EC3 has spent what feels like 9 months in the back shooting weird vignettes and promos, and then
Corny as hell.
getting a win last week only to turn around and lose this week makes no sense. 50-50 booking gets nobody over. And you have a guy in Dean Ambrose who's on his way out the door. His job is to put the next guy over. Dean Ambrose doesn't have to lose every week, but EC3 just scored a victory. You need to build on that momentum. Build on it.
They didn't have to have a match at all. You could just have the situation with Dean Ambrose and Rollins. It's just, this is part of the reason why the show is lacking and the ratings are down. And the ratings were down this week for Raw.
Yeah. It's just bad booking. It's bad booking and bad storytelling. I think overall, Raw...
Subpar.
Yeah,
I rated
not
it a
very
4
good.
out of 10.
Yeah, I know. I seen that on Twitter.
Terrible.
It was awful.
Terrible edition of Raw. You go over to SmackDown, and it was a little bit better. You had a main event that was highlighted by a gauntlet match, and you really highlighted a guy that has been a good worker for the company, and you realize, wow, Kofi Kingston can do the job. And he filled in for an injured Mustafa Ali, which is disappointing. He won't be part of the Elimination Chamber. And you realize, wow, Kofi is actually a solid addition. A guy that was, able to pin Samoa Joe, pin Daniel Bryan, and he handled his business. I thought it was really great. He put in a 60-minute effort, solid, but unfortunately, obviously, you have to lose to AJ Styles in the Craft Crusher, so I thought it was really good.
I thought SmackDown was better than Raw, but only minimally. I thought the way this was put together... So this is what WWE... They find themselves in this weird spot where they get done with the Royal Rumble, then they've got to cram all these weird pay-per-views in there, and they've got to tell stories, but they have to keep the overarching story of WrestleMania in mind. So it gets weird. You get these odd stories that don't necessarily seem to fit the continuity, and it's just weird. You get some shows where it's really dead because you don't want to build something when you've got another story going on in the background. So it just becomes really, really weird. And I felt like SmackDown was that. All that being said, I thought overall the show flowed much better. And you're right, the main event gauntlet match. While I don't like having one match take over an hour unless it's a 60-minute Iron Man match, I thought the job Kofi did was amazing. Kofi got himself so over in this match. Beats Daniel Bryan in what was 30-plus minutes of an awesome match. Then beats Jeff Hardy, beats Samoa Joe. After Joe beats him, Joe chokes him out and leaves him for dead basically until AJ chases Joe off. Now, I thought the interaction between Styles and Kofi was great because AJ Styles helped elevate Kofi Kingston. This match elevated Kofi, but AJ Styles coming out and basically saying, look, you don't have to do this. It's okay. You're no condition to fight. I thought really helped create a little bit of friction between Kofi and AJ because Kofi's like, no, I'm going to beat you. I'm going to beat you. And then Kofi goes out there and tries to beat him. And like you said, submits to the calf crusher. I'd have liked it more if he'd have beat AJ.
Yeah.
And then you could have it kind of wrap up the way it wrapped up. So Kofi at this point is in for 60 minutes. You could have did it for 61 or 62, have him beat AJ, and then Randy Orton's music hits, and it's an RKO out of nowhere. And you could have ended it that way.
Are you okay with Randy winning it all and being the last guy? He qualifies to be the last person to come out of the Elimination Chamber.
I mean, you knew it was going to happen that way, right?
Yep.
You looked at the clock, it was 9:58, and you're like, oh, cool, who's left? Oh, Randy Orton. All right, yeah. He's going to hit an RKO out of nowhere. I was more upset with AJ Styles not looking behind himself.
Yeah.
Like just staring at the Titantron the entire time when you know Randy Orton's coming from the side. So I was more upset about that. But overall, Kofi Kingston stole the show on SmackDown. I thought it was awesome. I also thought you got a solid promo from the Usos and The Miz and Shane. I think this did a good job to help add a little bit of heat to their match. I did like the double sweet chin music from the Usos. I thought the best part of it, though, was The Miz calling out the Toledo Mud Hens just for a Detroit spin on it. The Toledo Mud Hens are the Detroit Tigers minor league baseball team. I thought that was really cool. I thought that was neat. The crowd popped hard. I thought that was a really awesome moment. Just being a guy from Detroit, knowing who the Toledo Mud Hens are, I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, we do a podcast on the Detroit Sports Podcast, so you know what I'm saying? I thought that was neat. Like I said, overall, I thought SmackDown was marginally better than Raw. I don't think it was light years ahead. I thought both of these go-home shows were were kind of clunkers.
Yep.
There was nothing super newsworthy that came out of them except for Mustafa Ali not being in the gauntlet match, and I'll have more info on what he's dealing with in the news and notes coming up here in a few moments.
So SmackDown wins the week.
Yeah, definitely. SmackDown definitely wins the week. SmackDown pulls ahead again, like just increasing its margin of victory here. 45 to 27.5. Mind you, Raw has one no credit because it sucks so bad.
All right, it's time for the Elimination Chamber predictions. You're currently holding a slight lead on me in calling the card. You're leading 8 to 7.5. And what we do is we try and predict to the best of our ability what's going to happen on these pay-per-views. Let's do this. I think the first match, right away, you and I are going to be universal on it. We both think that there's no way Ruby Riott walks away from the match with Ronda Rousey as a champ. Ronda gets the W.
Ronda all day long.
All day long.
There's no way. Next match is the Women's Tag Team Championship Elimination Chamber match. Nia Jax and Tamina versus the Riott Squad, which has Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan. Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville versus the Iconics, which is Peyton Royce, Billie Kay, and Sasha Banks and Bayley, as well as Naomi and Carmella. Note, Sasha and Bayley will start the match against Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. So they will be the 4 contestants that will be in the match the longest. Mind you, there's a storyline going on with Sasha not being medically cleared to fight because she is dealing with some injuries herself. Who do you have winning this?
I think there's an opportunity where a lot can, take place to kind of help shape up WrestleMania. But I think that just based on what I see, the push has to go to Nia Jax and Tamina. I think that's where they're leaning with this. Nia Jax and Tamina, the badass chicks as they're being billed, I think they take it and are the latest WWE Women's Tag Team Champions.
So Nia Jax and Tamina were my number 2. I was on the fence. I kept going back and forth. I'm going to go with Sasha and Bayley here. I wouldn't be surprised if Nia and Tamina win this, though. Again, very difficult for me to make the decision for Sasha and Bayley. You know what I could see, though, happen? I could see Sasha and Bayley I could see them lose this match. I could see that next Monday, when they come back, Bayley turns on Sasha. Bayley becomes a heel. Bayley's already mentioned she wouldn't mind becoming a heel. I think that would be interesting, and I think that would be captivating, and that would draw you in to watch. Next match, the WWE World Championship Elimination Chamber match. Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Randy Orton, Kofi Kingston, who is replacing Mustafa Ali, who is dealing with some injuries, as well as Jeff Hardy. Note, Randy Orton will be the last man to enter the chamber. I think we're both in lockstep here. It's going to be Daniel Bryan winning this, right?
All day, baby.
Okay, so that's good. I was going to say, if you go somewhere else with this,
you're crazy.
I don't know where you're going to go. All right, next one is the SmackDown Tag Team Championship match between The Miz and Shane versus the Usos. Who do you have winning this?
This is tough, man.
This
the
is a tough
Usos
one.
are on a roll. Do you set up The Miz and Shane McMahon for Mania right now? I think you do. Give me the Usos. I think that you have to start shaping up WrestleMania at some point, and The Miz and Shane McMahon have been building, and I don't think that you need them to have the belt. I think you need to start establishing a feud because you got to have some content on SmackDown that people are going to get invested in, and so I do think Elimination Chamber is going to have a lot of impact on what's going to happen in Mania, so I see The Miz and Shane McMahon breaking up. Give me the Usos, baby. The Uso Penitentiary. Give them the titles, baby. They deserve it.
All right. You know what? I don't mind that. I'm going to go opposite, though. This is one of the first pay-per-views where this is a very small pay-per-view. Not huge. Normally, we've got like 15 matches that we've got to get through. Not as many today. But this is one of those pay-per-views where instantly we've got some differences. I'm going to go The Miz and Shane on this one. I don't see you messing with too many storylines as we build to WrestleMania. I do like where your head's at, and I think that's creative, and that's the one thing WWE does not do well, is creative. Intercontinental Championship, Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush, I'm assuming this is a handicap match, I don't understand this, versus Finn Balor. Who do you have?
This is tough because do you give the title to Finn Balor now? No, I think what you have happen is, potentially speaking, you have it set up where Bobby Lashley wins it and something happens where you continue the storyline and it's going to take place at Mania. Finn Balor gets his moment versus Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania, so give me Bobby Lashley to keep the IC belt. It's too soon.
What if Lio Rush pins Bobby Lashley? That would be so interesting,
that'd be interesting, right?
That would be. I'm going to go Finn Balor. I think he overcomes all odds. I think what he did after what he did in his match against Brock Lesnar, I think he's opened up some eyes. And I think Vince does believe in him. And I think this is his payback for losing that match. Because I think we all believe Finn probably should have won the belt. Finn has never really had his rematch. I know they've done away with the rematch. I just think At this point in time, I think you put the Intercontinental Championship on Finn and you let Bobby Lashley chase him. Baron Corbin, Braun Strowman. I believe we're both in lockstep here.
Braun Strowman will kill him.
All day long. So, just to recount, we both have Braun Strowman beating Baron Corbin. I've got Finn Balor. You've got Bobby Lashley in the Intercontinental Championship match. The SmackDown Tag Team match. You've got the Usos. I've got the Miz and Shane. We both have Daniel Bryan winning the Elimination Chamber to retain his WWE World Championship match. Women's Tag Team match. You've got Nia and Tamina. I've got Sasha and Bayley. Raw Women's Championship match. We both have Ronda Rousey winning. Again, like you said, calling the card. I have a slight lead, 8 to 7.5. Real quick, my match of the week. Go watch Kofi Kingston. Go watch Kofi Kingston kill it. You're going to need an hour for it, but go watch Kofi Kingston kill it. It was awesome.
Very solid.
Some news and notes for you?
Hit me with this week's pro wrestling news and notes.
Salvatore Bellomo died at the age of 67 earlier this week. Bellomo competed in WWE from 1983 to 1987, where he was mostly used as a jobber. He also competed in ECW in the 1990s. As we found out on Tuesday, Mustafa Ali is not medically cleared to wrestle. That's why he's been removed from the Elimination Chamber match.
Taking a ton of hits.
Yes. He is working through a bruised tailbone, a busted eye from Randy Orton last week on SmackDown, and a concussion from this week's WWE live events that took place over the weekend. Ronda Rousey crushes WWE for the Becky Lynch suspension and removing her from the match. She said on Twitter that this was embarrassing and it set the women's revolution back. And to be honest with you, I kind of agree. Nobody needs to see Charlotte. Batista is having conversations with WWE for a Mania return.
Oh, one-off.
However, he's also having conversations with AEW, who is reportedly interested. Speaking of AEW, they have sold out their May 25th Double or Nothing pay-per-view event. During the podcast, you let me know it was done in 4 minutes. They did a massive pre-sale online password purchase window thingy, and good luck getting tickets to Double or Nothing. It's not going down. This is why it's good. This is why it's good business. Listen, so their first
loud crowd.
Their first one was 10,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
This time they stepped it up. I think it's like 11,795 is what the seating capacity is. All right, the next one. Don't be surprised if the next one is a massive stadium. So don't be surprised if their next one is somewhere near 20,000.
Yeah, they have to. They have to have a bigger venue.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
But that's awesome. I mean, look.
Early matches are going to be great. Omega versus Chris Jericho, I think, is going to be a great headlining match. And you already got some of the matches that are going to take place. Hangman versus Pac, I think, could bring the house down. And the card is going to be rounded out in the coming weeks.
Yeah, it should be a spectacular show. Speaking of Kenny Omega, it is now official. He has signed with AEW. No one's surprised here. It's also reported that he is a vice president in the operations of the organization. It's expected that AEW will make their decision on their new television deal coming up very soon. They want it set up to where when WWE moves to Fox and they get their Friday broadcast, when SmackDown moves to Fox in October for their Friday broadcast, they can slide in and take that Tuesday time slot. So you will still have wrestling on Tuesday. Chris Jericho, talked about him a little bit earlier. Chris Jericho has announced his second annual Rockin' Rager at Sea. This one will have a crossover promotion with AEW. So no ROH on this one, at least not yet, but this will be a lot of AEW stars. Sticking with AEW, a lot of AEW news. The guy who's at the forefront of all of this, Cody Rhodes, the brain trust who really helped set this organization up, had successful knee surgery and is recovering at home. If you remember a few months back, we said he had a torn meniscus. This was before ROH's War of the Worlds. He was going to wrestle through some of that. He finally had the surgery to repair that, so he should be good to go for Double or Nothing. Jay White beat Tanahashi on Monday night to capture his first ever IWGP Heavyweight Championship in New Japan.
Nice.
So New Japan has a brand new champion. Now, this is weird because a lot of people are like, who the hell is Jay White? What's the big deal with Jay White? Jay White. Jay White is the new star that New Japan is basically putting all of its eggs in its basket. This is now going to be the face of New Japan, especially on the foreign side. It was Kenny Omega for a long time. Kenny Omega has left. They needed to find a new star. It's Jay White. Jay White's a very good wrestler. Started in ROH, went over to New Japan, worked in the dojos and in the dungeons there, and has earned his way to this spot. Seems like it's coming very, very quickly for him, but he's a very good wrestler. That's what I got for you for news and notes.
Very succinct, compact podcast. I appreciate it. Great to talk to you this week about wrestling, although the shows aren't going to be that great. I'm interested to watch the Elimination Chamber. I think it has the potential to be an exciting pay-per-view. I think that WWE has a lot of work to do to hype up WrestleMania because right now ratings are down. There's a lot of talk about what's going on, and a lot of people are unhappy with how the creative direction is with WWE, and AEW is just creating buzz after buzz and wins after wins. It's going to be exciting, and the names that they're looking at are exciting, and I think that AEW right now, to kind of just quickly discuss the debate, I think they are poised for success. I think that they have, a guy like Cody Rhodes has experience. His dad basically is a legendary wrestler, and he's seen the ups and downs.
Legendary promoter and booker.
Exactly. You got funds, you got talent, you got Chris Jericho, who was there throughout WCW. Right now, everything's going well, and I just think that they have to continue to ride this momentum, and I think they have a strong chance to have a solid year 1, year 2 of AEW. Right now, they're doing a lot of things well, and I'm really excited to see what they're doing.
I'm really interested to see what happens when they get a TV deal. It's different when you book one-off matches, right? It's what do you guys want to do? How do you want to do it? What spots do you want? This is how much time we can give you for a match. Can you make it work? And everybody's like, yeah, we agree. Let's do this. Well, we'll work through our match and we'll stage it. Okay, cool. No big deal. That's cool for All In. That's cool for Double or Nothing. What happens when you start writing weekly television? And that's where things can kind of go awry and get kind of weird. You see weird things with Impact. You see weird things with WWE all the time. You've seen weird things with WCW back when WCW was around. How does what AEW is doing and doing so well, how do they make that work for long-term booking, for storylines and story arcs that air every single week? It'll be interesting to see how they manage that hurdle, because that is something that can really trip you up. It's the one thing we bitch about every single week on this podcast is how bad the writing and the booking is on WWE. And it's the one thing that can really kill whatever good momentum you have going.
I want to thank those that support our podcast and network. Go check out the Breaking Down the Ring podcast. They air live every Wednesday, 9:15 on the Podcast Detroit platform. All their social media is at BDRcast on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Check them out, Mikey and the crew, the most inappropriate wrestling podcast, and always support Dennis Farrell and the Wrestling Perspective Podcast Network. You can follow him on Twitter at Dennis77Farrell, and his show is also nationally syndicated on the SB Nation platform. Check him out. Dennis does great work, and his podcast is also located on our platform as well, DetroitSportsPodcast.com. Great podcast recording. I look forward to reviewing Elimination Chamber and hopefully a better Raw and SmackDown next week. Later, everybody. Check us out every Friday. You've just downloaded the latest edition of the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast.